Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. I also want to welcome you into the month of March.
Oh gosh.
Last week was the NFL Combine. And now we enter the long, I don't know why the Combine's so far away from the draft, but the long trudge of getting from the NFL Combine to the NFL Draft, which is kind of what decides a lot of our rankings.
You know what I just realized? It's March, right?
Yeah.
We're going to know where Tom Brady plays this month for next season.
Bro, in like 10 days. Maybe. We'll see. I'm getting ahead of myself. Next week is the first week we hear. Yeah, March 13th. March 13th is the first day of tampering.
Which is like a lot of contracts come out.
So I believe, I'm not entirely sure. Let's see. What's 7 days after the 5th? That's the 12th, right? That could be very wrong. 7
days after the 5th is the 12th, yes.
That's not true. Is it? Yeah, it is the 12th. Hey!
Did I do a math?
Not this Thursday. Next Thursday, we're going to do a free agency preview show. We're going to give you maybe a couple of predictions where guys might land. Some guys, even in this show, have now been kind of taken off the market of people that you might have been excited about seeing on a new team. But we'll have to, break that down in this episode. But we're gonna give you a little free agent preview, and then I don't remember what we do on Tuesday. A little less relevant. And then a 2-episode breakdown the following week of free agency, of what happened.
Oh boy, that's exciting.
So we'll go through each
I can't
position.
Wait for free agency this year.
Lots of things are going to happen.
The quarterback list.
The quarterback list is probably why. The NFL free agency is never this exciting. Like NBA free agency, it's a nail biter every year.
Yeah.
And this free agency is just not. So anyway, we got a lot to get to. News. In this episode, we're going to discuss regression candidates at the quarterback and tight end position. We'll probably do this episode again as the season approaches, as we know more about how things are going to play out. I know we were discussing before the show a couple of players that may be on this list, but they aren't yet because we don't understand the circumstances yet, depending on what happens in the offseason. So today we're going to talk about regression candidates at quarterback and tight end. Before we get into the news, check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like us on Facebook. And on Twitter, you can follow us at the FF Champs. On Instagram, at the Fantasy Champions. And then subscribe wherever you listen. Man, I am tongue-tied right now. Make sure you leave a review and share this podcast with your friendonis.
You're always tongue-tied because you try to do this. This is my impression of Morgan. I have my setup, dude. Relax.
Sorry, bro. Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
Hold on. Where is it? You can follow us on Twitter at the FF Champs, Instagram at fantasychampions.com, Facebook at ffchamps.com. That's how it sounds like sometimes.
Do people understand it? That's the question.
I think so.
Okay, good. I also didn't set the timer. I also didn't set the timer today. Well,
that's good because we'd hear it go beep beep beep.
If you're listening to this episode in time, don't forget to go vote wherever you live. If you're in a town, city, state that votes in the American election. I know we have some foreign listeners. So let's get to the news. Chris Carson is expected to be ready for week 1. That's good news, I guess.
Yeah, that's good news. Sure, yeah.
Wow. Speaking Tuesday, Cardinals GM Steve Keim said David Johnson is a guy we still value. Honest to God, I don't believe anything the Cardinals say. Like, they can say things. They say one thing, and they do the exact opposite. Right. So I'm all set with them. Speaking Tuesday, 49ers GM John Lynch said the team is committed to Jimmy Garoppolo moving forward. Now, it's interesting how a Super Bowl will get people to think that the quarterback's not the guy if you lose one. Because I remember the same conversations being had about King Goff. Jared Goff the following season. So, of course, you have to move forward, Jimmy G. Yeah. Like, there's no... You don't find... Quarterbacks don't grow on trees.
Yeah, no, I know. There was somebody from New England, I think it was Tommy Curran, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And he was asked where he thinks Brady's going to go.
Okay.
And he said it's 50-50 between the Patriots and the Titans. but he thinks the 49ers are a very, very dark horse that could swoop in and steal him. And then he was saying a scenario where they trade Garoppolo to the Patriots and then sign.
Yes.
Like, not for a lot. It would be like for like a
sure.
Pick.
I would take that in a second because that's exactly what Bill wants.
And then
good, I'll take him back. I gave him to you for a third-round pick. And
right.
The NFLPA, they voted. The Board of Representatives voted, and they agreed to send the collective bargaining agreement to an entire membership vote.
So we're getting somewhere?
Yeah, we're getting somewhere.
Cool.
I don't think it's going to be approved by the players. Now, there's when you're negotiating, there's always a sell-off, and there's always a caveat to certain things. 17-game season, players say, oh, no, minimum contracts go up $100,000, and then players are like, ooh, and, half the league is minimum contracts. So
yeah.
I think to get a $100,000 pay raise automatic by agreeing to this is enough for people to sign on for a 4. Yeah. So we'll see. I actually don't think there was a lot of hesitation from players. I think Odell Beckham said something about it. Maurice, the Steelers center. Yeah, Pouncey said something about it, and then Rodgers. So, obviously, the people who are against it are very much... I'm like, Rodgers, you on the way out, shut up. But it will fundamentally change the entire system of the NFL and how we even talk about fantasy football for next season. So, we'll keep you updated on that because those 13-game seasons are now going to turn into 14-game regular seasons. Thank the Lord, a round number. If I'm talking about fantasy.
True.
NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports quarterback Baker Mayfield plans to slim down to be faster in 2020. I'm not sure that helps you throw more accurately.
Plans to be slimmer and faster in 2020? Is he saying he was fat?
Yeah, I guess so. It wasn't just the flapjack underneath his jersey, folks.
It's all those commercials he did.
It was the actual flapjacks he ate in the morning. Tight end Jason Witten plans to return to the Cowboys. That's
not a shock. He's like 50 years old. Why didn't he just... I mean, I guess get the bag.
Blake Jarwin's just sitting there waiting. He's like, I had one opportunity. Yeah. And ProFootballNetwork.com reports, never heard of this before that particular news outlet. But anyway, they report...
Never heard of Pro Football Network?
No.
Oh, I haven't either. I thought it was Pro Football Network.
No. People at NFL Combine have indicated. Now, I hope this is real because I've heard of Tony Pauline, but I have not heard of ProFootballNetwork.com. They indicate that Phillip Rivers will sign with the Colts. Very interesting.
That is interesting. People have just, including myself, assumed he's going back to the Buccaneers. But the Colts. I didn't even think of that one.
I do want to note, don't bring up Brady in this discussion because I will talk about him in a second. But I think that would be an upgrade on Jacoby Brissett. I really do. I don't like
Rivers, but I think you're right.
As much as people think he's washed, he's still a better quarterback than 90%.
He's washed, but he's still better than.
I was going to say 90% of the league, but I would say about 60% of the league.
Half.
Yeah.
I'd say half. I think he's 16th or 17th quarterbacks.
Because he can still make throws.
Sure.
Anyway.
But I mean,
and that team's defense is significantly better than the Chargers.
No, I know, but so that's weird. Why did he buy a home in Florida? And then
I don't know. Why did NFL players do anything they do?
It's true. Good point.
So we'll see what happens with Phillip Rivers. Mike McCarthy made 2 statements. He said Dak Prescott's definitely going to be the team's franchise quarterback, and he also said the goal is to have both Amari Cooper and Randall Cobb in 2020. So yeah, Amari Cooper is one of those. They have 1 franchise tag and 3 players they want. So Dak is going to get the franchise tag because you got to. Oh man, that whole offense changes if Amari leaves.
Oh, I know. Not for the good.
And there are rumors that are saying that Amari Cooper could possibly go to the New York Jets, play for Sam Darnold.
Oh, I would love. Oh my gosh, my pants would be off.
For Sam Darnold next season. Oh god. So we'll have to keep an eye on that situation. They only have so much money, so I don't really know what their plans are.
Really, that's so odd. I feel like they need Cooper. He's
their offense. Oh yeah.
To the offense.
I think that they would throw the ball a lot more to a man by the name of Tony Pollard or slash i.e. Ezekiel Elliott, because he had, I think Zeke had like 100 plus targets in 2018. And last year he had like,
how many did he get last year?
80 or 90. So he took a hit.
Still, like Amari Cooper's, how many targets does Cooper get?
I think he had over 100.
Right, and I think he missed a game or two, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So
we'll have to see what happens with Amari Cooper. Let's get to some Tom Brady news, because this is what everyone's talking about. I really don't understand why. He's a 43-year-old quarterback.
He's 42, okay? Relax.
A 42-year-old quarterback who's restarting in a new place. Like, what do you expect? This is going to be no different than when Joe Montana left the 49ers. I don't know. Anyway, so there was a lot of reports going around. I'll start with the first one that happened right before the combine. They said that Tom Brady, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but somebody in the higher ups said that Tom Brady is all but certain to not go back to New England.
Really? Who said this?
Yeah, somebody that works, I believe, for NFL Network. It wasn't like an Adam Schefter works for ESPN, but it wasn't an Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport type person. But they said that Tom Brady is not coming back to New England, basically, is what he said. And then there were obviously conflicting reports about whether Tom Brady was going to come back or not. And then a video came out on, I don't remember what day it was, but a video came out of them at a Syracuse basketball game.
That was Saturday?
Maybe? And he was with Julian Edelman and Jimmy Fallon. And the fact that he's with Julian Edelman, no one references that in terms of like, oh, maybe he wants to play with Julian Edelman on the Patriots.
Well, that's just because they're friends, though, now.
So they were at the game, and Julian said on a hot mic, he's coming back. And Brady looks over at him, kind of says something. We're not really sure what it is.
It sounded like
shake his head.
Yeah.
And some people say he said he's not. Some other people say he said this guy and then laughed. The funny thing is, I saw another angle of it. Now that we're going to discuss Bradygate, I saw another angle of it, and Jimmy Fallon was talking to Brady right after Julian said that, and that's what caused Brady to have a response. So what he was saying might have not even been related to what Julian Edelman said.
This is like the most investigating any fan has ever done.
It's ridiculous.
For a Syracuse basketball game.
It's so true. And then during that game, he was also on the phone, on a FaceTime chat with A1 Mike Vrabel, who happens to be the head coach, if you didn't know, of the Tennessee Titans. So Tennessee's got to stop playing games, dude. They're going to have – Ryan Tannehill's going to freaking walk on them. And they're going to be hoping Tom Brady –
and Winston right now are just so
Tom
Brady's with their teams.
Tom Brady's going to play Kawhi Leonard.
He might.
And just wait.
Yeah.
And which is not smart for him to do, by the way. But anyway. There was a report by Mike Reese, who's very plugged in with the New England Patriots. I think he covers the Patriots for ESPN, I believe. I can't remember.
He used to, at least.
So he believes that nothing has changed definitively regarding Tom Brady's future with the Patriots. So everything that you've heard, just throw in the garbage. Tom Brady has not told anyone where he's going because he doesn't know where he's going. I don't care if he comes back. We talked about this before. I honestly, as a Patriots fan, I don't. I mean, do I want him to leave? I want him to finish his career as a Patriot. Yes, but like to me, I honestly I would be fine with the Patriots resetting. To me, I think that no one really knows what's going on with Brady, and reporting has gotten over the last couple of years. Shout out to all the horrible reporting that the media for sports has been. Like they've notoriously reported things wrong because they want to tweet it out fast and get it out there. So
yeah, some stuff.
So let's wait until we actually know what Tom Brady's going to do, because you know what? We thought Josh McDaniels was going to leave the New England Patriots 2 years ago to go to the Colts, and Robert Kraft gave him a little Jedi mind trick, and he came back to the Patriots. So I think it's all going to come down to that last meeting with Tom and Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, and he'll come back. That's what that's going to happen. Julian will be there. They'll bring in David Ortiz.
I don't think they need Ortiz for Tom Brady.
That's true. Anyway, so it's just a disaster in terms of reporting for Tom Brady. So we'll keep you updated with all the nonsense. The Packers plan on making a run at Austin Hooper, so there goes his entire career. The Bears also want to go after Austin Hooper, which would GG his career. So bad. Jerry Jones admits that he thought about re-signing Des Bryant.
Yes.
Interesting.
He has said that at this point in his career, though, off the injuries, and hasn't played professional football in 2 years. Yeah.
CBS Sports' Jason La Canfora, don't like him at all as a reporter, reports that free agent Kenyon Drake is seeking $8 to $10 million annually.
That was rude that you just had to throw that in
Yeah,
there.
I did. I really can't stand him.
Why?
He's just such a terrible reporter, and never mind. Kenyon Drake is seeking $8 to $10 million annually. That's like top 5 running back money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's Le'Veon Bell.
Well, Le'Veon, what is he making, 18?
No. I think he's only making 12.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, that's a lot. I would sign him for $8 million, but not $10 to $12 million. Like, that would be a little bit much.
I feel like the Cardinals have some money, though, to spend if they want to.
They have to get rid of Johnson if they plan to sign Kenyon
Correct,
Drake
which I
to
think
that.
they will.
Ian Rappaport reports that Jameis Winston had surgery for a torn meniscus, and Peter King considers the Bucs likely to move on from free agent Jameis Winston. So sounds like Mr. Winston's going to hit the free agent market.
They've been talking about him too, like Bruce Arians and stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody literally asked him.
Yeah.
Like, they said, "Let me rephrase that for you and tell me if I'm wrong."
Yeah.
Said your plans for the offseason is Jameis Winston unless you can find somebody better. And Bruce Arians literally said, "Yeah, that's pretty much it," because they were talking about like other quarterbacks in the market.
If I'm Jameis Winston, I'm like, nah.
Now, if you're Winston, you hear that. Are you coming back?
I'm gone. I'm saying, frick you. You tried. You know, I think Arians is putting he's not really a guy that's known to pull a Cardinals and lie to the media. But if I was him, I would not go out in front of the media and talk as much garbage about this kid, because what if everyone else signs somewhere else?
The Colts. Brady's not going.
And then you're left with the option of signing Jameis Winston, and Winston gets to choose between
Winston or A.J. McCarron.
Right. Well, that's the biggest problem, is that I think they would obviously rather have Winston in that scenario, but Winston would be in a power, like, he's going to sign. He's going to sign somewhere. I don't know where. But he's going to sign somewhere, and it's probably going to be a starting contract. So, or it's probably going to be a starting role, not contract. But anyway, he's probably going to start for whatever team he signs with. So, I think Bruce Arians should stop screwing around and actually figure out if he can get one of these quarterbacks on his team.
I don't think they want to draft a quarterback.
No,
because they receivers in their prime.
If they don't play it right. If they don't play it right, Winston will leave and they'll get no quarterbacks.
I know, and they'll be forced to.
And they're not playing it right, because right now I wouldn't want to go back if I was Jameis Winston. It doesn't leave you with many options. The Bengals plan to franchise tag A.J. Green. The Bears have been in touch with the Bengals about acquiring Andy Dalton. Not sure what the capacity of his role would be.
The Bears?
The Bears. According to The Athletic. Job. Yeah, that might be a starting job. The Chargers are expected to franchise tag. This is the franchise tag segment of our podcast. The Chargers decide to franchise tag Hunter Henry. They are expected to use it on Hunter Henry. So Hunter Henry, no longer a free agent. The Cowboys are expected to franchise tag Dak. Not unexpected. The Broncos are going to look into free agent running backs, according to sources. So they're gonna that would be them moving on from
Royce Freeman and
Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. I don't think they want either one of those guys.
No, probably not.
This is, by the way, I think they hired a new offensive coordinator this offseason. Oh, that's what we're talking about next Tuesday. The coaches show. So we'll discuss a little bit of that. But so the new offense for the Broncos is looking for a new running back. Interesting. Matthew Berry said that Raiders GM Mike Mayock expects Josh Jacobs to be more heavily involved in the passing game.
That's a good sign.
Very good sign. I'll move him up my draft board just from that report. Do you believe it? the actions speak louder than words.
Actions definitely do speak louder than words.
So we're going to take a wild guess. But anyway, Matthew Fairbarn of The Athletic does not expect free agent Frank Gore to return to the Bills, which is what we already knew.
Let's go.
Yeah. Let's go. I'm so excited.
Devin Singletary.
He's just going to go and ruin DeAndre Swift's career with the Dolphins. So let's move into regression candidates at the quarterback and the tight end position for 2020. This is a carefully curated list of people. We'll start with the quarterbacks. Let's jump right in. You ready to go?
Yeah.
So he was my quarterback this year in fantasy, my guy. I went with him all season, super excited. Dak Prescott spent half my waiver budget. I think it was a quarter of my waiver budget on him.
You spent, yeah.
No one put a bid. Frick me.
Because in the past,
yep,
he's had good games and stuff, but usually didn't do it for a whole season.
So
except this year.
Yeah, in 2018, I just want to give you the rundown. He was averaging roughly, I want to say, 18 points a game. I hope that's right.
2018?
In 2018. This year, he was on the precipice of having I think it's like 22, 23 points a game, so he took a 4-point jump. Now, he had some really bad games, but I'm going to give you the QB1 totals for Dak Prescott over the course of the entire season. So he had, he was a QB2 week 1, QB3, QB7, QB24, QB7, QB12, QB8, QB7, QB5, QB3, QB24, QB10, QB15, QB12, QB21, and then QB1. So through the entire season, he had 13 quarterback 1 finishes. Very good if you need a quarterback. And a guy that came off the waiver wire, that's spectacular. Fantastic. Huge. Fantastic for Dak.
Huge.
So he had a very good season last year. He had 596 attempts.
Jeez, yeah.
Now he's under a new system.
New system, correct.
New system with Mr. Mike McCarthy, who had a quarterback who liked to throw the football a significant amount of the time. That scares me a little bit, by the way. We're not talking about Ezekiel Elliott, but
just Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy likes to split running back snaps.
Oh yeah, I know.
So I didn't even think about that. We'll talk about that on Tuesday's show. So Dak had a really good season, threw for a lot of yards. In seasons past, he was okay. So I do want to. Did you have any thoughts on Dak Prescott before we jump into? I wanted to go through each statistic and kind of talk about whether he'll regress or not. But go ahead.
I do think Dak is going to regress. The Cowboys had a lot of games this year.
Yeah.
Where Dak would end up scoring 20 points, and he was very lucky to get 20 points because they were losing in the game.
Yeah.
And as you know, he threw a lot of yards.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd have a lot of trash time yards, maybe a trash time score, and get it up. That usually doesn't happen 2 years in a row.
Right.
I don't see that. Like, what player consistently gets trash time points year in, year out?
Yeah.
Maybe week to week in a single season.
Remember you said that. You're so lucky. You trash time points only.
I mean,
it honestly was watching the whole game. Like, if you turned your phone off and you watched Dak Prescott play, you were like, oh, this is such a terrible fantasy week.
Right. And
then you would go on your phone at the end of the night and
he
you had 20 yards. He had 25 fantasy points. You're like, what the heck happened?
He went like 25 for 45 with 0 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, but somehow he still got 20 fantasy points because of all the yards.
It's absurd.
So, I don't think it's going to happen in 2 consecutive years. And I don't think Dak's going to be actually bad. If they lose Cooper,
right?
Like if Cooper goes, like we were talking about in the news,
that's huge.
That is huge for Dak, and he will not finish in the top 3 if that happens.
Oh no, definitely not.
I don't even think he's going to finish in the top 3 anyway.
Okay.
I mean, good season, but I don't see him. Dak Prescott, and I think he's good. Like I think he'll be top 10.
Yeah.
But I don't see him finishing in the top 3 again.
I think for Dak, regressing is inevitable. And it's tough because I really love the Cowboys. Don't know why.
Clown.
I don't know why. I hate Jerry Jones. I hate the management of the Cowboys so much. I just like the players. I like Zeke. I like Dak. I like Amari Cooper.
How about them Cowboys?
She's Jason Witten.
I do like
He's a terrible announcer, but It is what it is. Anyway, so let's go through a couple of the categories that we think he possibly could regress in. Passing yards, obviously being probably the number one. He had 4,901 passing yards. I believe I made a mistake in saying he had 5,000 passing yards. I was reading the wrong statistic. But he was number 2 in the league in passing yards. So I definitely...
See, I don't think that's going to happen.
That's not going to happen again.
Right.
I think 4,300 is probably more likely. But when you're talking about passing yards, that's roughly, I want to say, that's 20 to 30 fantasy points less.
Which will make a difference.
And then I think the biggest area, it really does depend on how effective Mike McCarthy's system is using Dak. And I really do think that makes a huge difference. But I think passing touchdowns will also probably, he threw 30 this year, which was number 4 in the league.
I think Zeke's going to get a little bit more.
Yeah.
In the red zone, yeah.
Yeah, I think they did throw the ball a lot to Amari Cooper in the red zone. So I think his passing touchdown rate on attempts was 5%. So I think he's going to regress in the touchdown category too. Like I'm talking like probably like 25, 26 touchdowns instead of 30. So I do think he's going to regress. How far down do you think he slides down the board?
I'm going to say like 8.
Yeah, I agree. I would even say like 9 or 10.
Yeah, I was going to say 8 to 10.
So the big thing is and I'll pull it up right now, Fantasy Football Calculator, because we always got to give you the actual place where he's getting drafted right now.
It is March, so.
Yeah, early ADP.
That's one way of saying it.
I want a side note that I still haven't shown you how to get there on this app.
Oh, yeah, because it's updated.
You're still thoroughly confused. But anyway, at the quarterback position, right now, Dak Prescott's going 6'10". So to get Dak Prescott in the 10th round, the 6th round is gross. Very gross.
Thanks.
All set. So Dak Prescott, I love him, but it's only inevitable that he regresses.
I feel like he's Matt Ryan from last year. I
really, definitely. So let's move on to the next guy. We got Russell Wilson.
The guy who almost won MVP?
Not even close.
Well,
through the first 5 weeks, maybe.
First half of the season.
So why don't you hold on? I'll just give you the. He was a little less consistent in the QB1 category. He would have these monster games where he would get 30 plus, 40 plus points. We have a 5-point touchdown league, so he had like 3 40 plus point weeks. But anyway, he would have these massive weeks. And then he would have these really bad weeks. And I think here's the thing with me and Russell Wilson. What did Russell Wilson finish as the QB5?
He was QB5.
QB4?
I don't think he's going to finish too much lower than that.
Too much lower?
I don't.
See, I disagree.
You think he's going to really fall off?
I think he's going to go back to Russell Wilson being the number 8 or number 9 quarterback.
Wilson 2 years ago was the number 1 quarterback in fantasy.
That was a bad year for quarterbacks.
It was. It's true. But I don't
Here's why.
Have Russell Wilson or Dak?
Back then.
For next year.
It's the same thing.
I would take Wilson.
Neither.
I would take Wilson.
I would rather have neither. Stream quarterbacks than
that's true.
Run one of these guys. But anyway, here's why. Okay. That offense that had him be at QB1 that year. Mm-hmm. That offense. Is that the same offense as it is right now? I'm not talking about players. I'm just talking about how they run their offense.
I really don't know.
They don't pass it as much.
Yeah.
They run the ball a lot. They're a running team.
They ran a lot.
I just talked about Dak's pass attempts. He had nearly 600.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson had the 12th most passing attempts in the NFL, which is not good.
No.
We
don't want to be
right. He had 516 attempts. I think he played all 16. And that's not good news.
No.
He threw 31 touchdowns. He had 411 yards. The biggest thing for him that got him into the position that he was in is rushing yards and rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think their offense is what it is. It's highly efficient. And I just think what was he the season before? I think he was like the QB12.
It wasn't. I don't think it was that low. I think it was.
Hold on, I can pull it up. I'm I need these numbers in front of me.
Yeah, look it up.
But anyway, I don't believe that he is going to be the guy that people think he's going to be next year.
So I don't think he's gonna finish in the top 4, like he did this year.
Yeah.
He did decline a lot, and you're right.
Top 5.
He was 5th.
In 16 weeks. Through 16 weeks, yeah.
This past season.
Yep.
When was he last year? Or 2 years ago now? 2018.
He was number 8.
So yeah, I think he's gonna go down to like 8 again. Probably 8 or 9. He is in the same boat as Dak. I would take Wilson over Dak.
Right.
Because I think he's got more weapons. Maybe not. Actually, it's close.
Yeah.
They are kind of in the same boat. But for me, the only reason why I say I'd probably take Wilson over Dak, with the emergence of DK Metcalf, I think that helps them. Tyler Lockett. I know Josh Gordon was smoking the weed, so they're gonna lose him. But they might get another receiver in there too. I don't know. I feel like the only reason Wilson I think will decline,
right,
is the running aspect of it, because Pete Carroll does love to run the ball, except in the Super Bowl. But that's neither near or there. But
yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you. It's not going to be
so good in the first half.
He really was very good. I think for me, fantasy wise, I think he's going to regress probably in the touchdowns category. You can expect the same passing yards. I would think like between 27 and
so that is true.
29
he might have
touchdowns.
Less touchdown passes.
But I think the big thing to me is that he, for some reason, I don't know if it was more. Hold on, let me check the 2018 numbers. He ran for less yards but didn't score any rushing touchdowns in 2017. So I don't know. It feels to me like he is going to regress. I don't disagree with you. I think it's not gonna be as big as we think it is.
No, but he will drop a few spots.
Right.
Which is why he's not number 1 on this list. But
right. So I think for him, let's pull up the fantasy football calculator. It sounded like I was just forgetting what I was saying, but I really wasn't. And right now, Russell Wilson's going off the board as the 4th quarterback, 505.
Yeah, see, that's
way too high. That's too much for a guy that might be QB 8. I mean, last year he had more fantasy points than he did this year.
Wow.
So that just goes to show you. I'm just not excited about Russell Wilson this year, and I think he's not really even a safe option. Like,
I think he is a safe option because he'll probably.
No, I don't think he's a safe option because have you seen his numbers fluctuate?
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, if you're drafting a quarterback and you don't want to have a bust, like, I don't think he's gonna finish outside the top.
Oh yeah. I know what you're saying.
Top 10 or top 12.
All right, let's talk about the next quarterback, A-Rod. Now you wanted to put this guy on this list, and I wonder why, because he was what was he, the QB 8, I think.
He was QB 10.
QB 11 and through 15 weeks.
11? Oh, I thought
through 15 weeks, but you can say he was QB 10.
Through 16, he was QB 10.
Yeah. 16 games, you mean, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The reason why I didn't want to put Rodgers on this list, I think he's now in the same category as what Brady and Breeze has been the last few years.
Yeah.
Would you disagree with me on that? Or he's the old quarterback?
He's an old quarterback. Yeah.
Last year, he was hit or miss depending on his matchup. I think he can kind of still do the same thing this year.
Yeah.
But first of all, he's going to have a harder schedule. The Packers finishing first.
Okay.
Right, so they're going to play all the top teams from the NFC.
Right.
The Bears are going to come back healthier with their defense, and we saw what they did week 1. They're going to have to play them twice. Mm-hmm. The Lions are actually semi-decent now. The Vikings are a good football team. So
right.
He's going to have a really tough schedule. He's very old. He's 37 now, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get his exact age. I'm looking it up.
Right.
I think he's 37.
Wow.
Aaron Rodgers.
A-Rod. I can't believe he's that old. I'll tell you that much. I sit here and I'm like, dude, how on God's green earth is that man that old?
So he'll turn 37 during the season.
I feel like he just took over for Brett Favre.
Well, you're living past
so long ago.
And now, so you take all those things into consideration.
Yeah.
And do you think, so looking at this list,
yeah,
he's 10th, right? Do you think Matt Ryan has a chance of overtaking him next year? Having a bounce back year? He's good 1 year, bad 1 year. He finished 11th.
Matt Ryan, you heard it here first. Matt Ryan's going to be a top 5 quarterback next year.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
So there's one guy. So he's already dropped a spot.
I really, you know what? To be honest with you, I would not be super surprised if Rodgers ends up being the 14th or the 15th guy down.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be awful. I think he'll be like 12.
And a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're crazy.
But
you're crazy right now."
Matt Stafford finished the QB 29 in 4 games played or 5 games.
You want to hear the kicker?
He was number 3.
You want to hear the kicker before
the first 5 weeks? Sure.
That's ridiculous. You want to hear the kicker before we move on to tight ends because we got to move on.
Yeah.
Rodgers right now is the 5th quarterback off the board at 5'12".
Ridiculous. Because I think Matt Stafford's going to finish ahead of him just for record.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan will finish ahead of him, and I think Daniel Jones or one of those young quarterbacks will also finish ahead. So I'll put him like 13 or 14.
I don't fully disagree with you. I think that he was a very inconsistent quarterback this year. Had big games, had bad games. It's not going to be a guy that you can rely on. I think he's a streaming option.
Good backup quarterback to do that.
To be fair to Aaron Rodgers, he did not have Devontae Adams for most of the season.
That is a good point.
But outside of that, I think you're starting to see age on Aaron Rodgers, and if he does well, then hey, we were wrong.
I also think injuries is something you have to consider with Aaron Rodgers.
Let's move through tight ends relatively quickly.
Sure.
Mark Andrews is. I love you, Mark. I predicted your breakout last year. He's not going to finish as the QB. I mean, at
tight end.
Wow.
When did he take over for Lamar?
Yeah, seriously. He's not going to finish as the tight end 2.
Well, in standard he was number 2. Half PPR he was number 4.
No, in half PPR. Well, I'm looking at 16. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
16 weeks or 16 games. I'm sorry, 15 games, 16 weeks.
Then he was number 2.
So Kelsey is probably going to be up there, obviously.
Correct.
Kittle is probably going to be up there if he plays a full season, and then Ertz is still involved in life.
They got to do that.
Darren Waller didn't catch any touchdowns.
I think Waller's going to be ahead of him.
Waller's going to be ahead of him.
I think if Hunter Henry plays a full season again, he'll be ahead of him.
Yeah. So I really do think he's gonna fall in terms of fantasy points. Like he's gonna fall in the rank at the end of next season.
Yeah.
But in terms of fantasy points, I think you're going to see guys like Marquise Brown, because that team is extremely young. They still run the football a lot, and they have young wide receivers. So it's like I think they're only going to start throwing to the wide receiver position more. I don't think they're going to go to Mark Andrews. And you also saw them wanting to get Nick Boyle, their backup. I don't even know if he's still going to be on the team next year.
I don't really want my team next year.
I think it's all but a given that he.
So go ahead. Sorry.
It's all but a given that he does regress, and the big reason why is he had 98 targets last year, as a top 2 tight end. This is through 17 games, so as a top 3 or 4 tight end, you only have 98 targets. That's not a lot.
And I think it's going to go down.
And I think that's going to go down. I think that's going to obviously decrease his reception count, and he had 852 yards. So you're talking about, in a standard league, 85 fantasy points on yards. And then in a half PPR, he had about, I don't want to say 110 fantasy points just on that. So that's good. Those are good numbers. Both of those categories, I think, regress a little bit, but it'll probably hover in that same category. The big thing that I think is going to regress next year is the 10 touchdowns. He had a 15.6% touchdown rate. That's going to go down.
I think he'll still get touchdowns because he's their best red zone option passing-wise, because Hollywood Brown is kind of a tinier guy. He's not really like a red zone threat. I mean, he's a red zone threat, but it's not somebody you go to.
Right.
So I do think he'll still catch a couple of touchdowns, but I think all 3 of those categories will go down next year.
Yeah, and I think I'm not sure. We obviously have a schedule, but we haven't really looked it over, so I'm not sure what the strength of schedule is going to be. But he's a talented tight end. He does really well. It's going to be hard for us to go. The tight end position always changes from year to year. I could see him being the 6th or the 7th tight end next year, as opposed to the 2nd or 3rd tight end.
I think he's going to finish like 7 or maybe even 8.
Okay, let's talk about the next tight end. Austin Hooper. Now, I'm not sure if you agree with this one or not. We put it in here, so you can argue for the other thing. Now, there are rumors floating around we talked about earlier. Austin Hooper going to the Bears. Austin Hooper going to... Who was the secondary team? Was it? No, it wasn't the Rams. It was
the Bears and the
2 bad places. Regardless, it was 2 locations that weren't good. It was the Bears and the Packers. So
Packers are awful.
What did they do to Jimmy Graham?
Yeah. Well, Jimmy Graham was already washed, I think.
Yeah, but they don't throw it to the tight end position all that much. Anyway, so for me, I like Hooper. To me, on those 2 teams, he regresses.
Yeah.
Let's just, for the sake of this
Bears
conversation.
especially. You won't see him again if he's on the
Yeah, for sure. Let's just, for the sake of this conversation, assume that he goes back to Atlanta.
Which I don't think he will, but
if he goes back to Atlanta, to me, you have Julio, you have year 3 stepped up, like very much better Calvin Ridley. You have Devonta Freeman if he's there, and then I think Ito Smith can catch.
Sure.
So I actually probably would put him probably 3rd or 4th on the target list. So if that's the case, I didn't like him coming into this year because of that. And I think this year he overcame that. But going into next year, what makes you think that he's going to be a guy that can overcome that again?
For me, if he stays on Atlanta, I don't think he's going to regress too much. I don't know if he's going to finish.
Yeah.
So he finished 6th, but if he played the whole season, he would have been like 3rd, 4th.
Yeah.
Which I don't think he'll finish in that area. I think he'll play the full season if he stays with Atlanta.
Yeah.
And plays a full season. I could see him finishing like 6th or 7th.
Right.
Which doesn't seem like a regression, but considering his games played, it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do think Matt Ryan looks for him on 3rd down. He's like a big blanket.
Yeah.
Kind of like Cooper Kupp. Not to the extent, but kind of like what Cooper Kupp is to Jared Goff.
Right.
Because obviously Matt Ryan likes to go to Julio, but Julio typically isn't open because the defense
double
is
teaming
on
him,
him.
right.
And Hooper usually gets open. Like, I watched a lot of Falcons games, which hurt my eyes, but I did. So I don't think he would drop off a little bit because he did get
not hugely though. I agree with you.
However, if he go, which I don't think he's gonna go back to the Falcons. If he goes to the Bears, bye, see ya.
Now, when we talk about, I just want to preface this. Oh yeah, go on. Yeah. I do want to say this. A lot of people are going to be like, because I actually think he'll probably finish 6 or 7 again next year. So a lot of people are like, oh well, that's not really a regression. We're just talking about efficiency. If he had played all 16 games,
he only played like 12 games.
Yeah, he played 12 games.
And he finished 6th.
And if he played in all 16 games, he probably would have finished in the top 3. That's inevitably where he was going to land. So to me, I think that is a little bit of regression in terms of what his efficiency was. I don't think he's going to produce the same amount of fantasy points on a weekly basis. Like last year, he had 12 fantasy points a game. That's number 3 on this list. So
right, which is
I think he'll be in the ballpark of 9, maybe 8 points per game. But let's move on to the next guy. The final guy on our list is Tyler Higbee. Mm-hmm. Now, you put him on this list, and I actually think that's great, and I think it's not because of anything. Now, coming into last year, I said the Rams don't throw it to the tight end.
Yeah.
Not really sure what happened this year.
It happened mid-season, too.
Mid-season.
It just was like a new strategy, new game plan. Like it was like week 6 they all of a sudden just were starting to throw to tight ends.
Yeah, so they started throwing it to the tight end position, and Tyler Higbee and who's the other guy? I don't even remember his name. But a lot of those guys, right now, it looks like the Rams are in the market for a tight end. So that would hurt Tyler Higbee a lot. And the other tight end that they had is coming back. So
right, Tyler Higbee played a lot because a lot of most people will see this and say, oh, well, Tyler Higbee finished in the top 10. He's this upcoming tight end, which might be true. But he only got a lot of that playing time because the other tight end they did have, Gerald Everett, got injured.
Thank you.
It just came back to me.
Yeah.
Because Everett got injured, so they put Higbee in, and all of a sudden he was doing the same thing that Gerald Everett was doing before he got hurt. I think they're going to, if they do continue to use the tight ends, they're going to use both of them.
Yep.
There's still Brandon Cooks on that team. There's still Robert Woods. There's still Cooper Kupp.
Mm-hmm.
There's still Todd Gurley as of right now. There's too many weapons. There's too many mouths to feed for an offense that was 2 years ago considered the best in the league and now is mediocre.
Yeah, right. This is so horrible for Tyler Higbee.
Are you saying he's not going to be a top 8 tight end?
Right now, I'm trying to find where he's getting drafted. 13th round. So, I mean,
most people agree on this one.
I think people are going to jump on the Tyler Higbee train thinking that he could be the next Mark Andrews or something like that. I think the way that the Rams are treating the tight end position right now, especially in free agency coming up next week, I think they definitely want to add a more top-tier tight end.
Yeah.
But to me, it all points to Tyler Higbee not. The uncertainty is there. The fact that he might be utterly replaced. The fact that Gerald Everett is still there. and they like to run those 2 tight end sets because they like to run the football and set up the pass, you're just going to get a lot of Gerald Everett. You're going to get a lot of Tyler Higbee. I think that they're not going to really pass the ball to the tight end position all that much this year. So we're going to have to see what happens with that position. But I don't know. Higbee he's a draw. Like Mark Andrews, Austin Hooper are going to fall down a little bit. Tyler Higbee is going to just be like he might even be non-existent, like a waiver wire fringe guy. Right. So we're going to have to see what happens with that. But do you have any concluding thoughts on
either that's
the regression?
Or Higbee's going to be a top 3 tight end. And we're all going to
He's like Higbee's going to be that top 3 tight end that you didn't expect to be there.
We're like, what the heck? Tyler Higbee?
Yeah, that's absurd. Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll talk to you on Thursday, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter at TheFFChamps.